The Rebirth of the Gentleman. Meng Zizao crossed over and became the concubine of a first-class member of the court, which should have been a rich and noble life that fell from the sky, but he overturned in 3 days. His father and brother were corrupt and bent the law, his sister was flying and domineering, and the family was notorious. And he himself is even more notorious. What's even more terrifying is that he got into a novel called Spring and Autumn in Troubled Times, and their whole family was uprooted and beheaded 5 years later. In order to survive, Meng Zizao resolutely embarked on the road of changing his life. From the most incompetent gentleman to the courtier, he corrected the chaotic situation step by step and reversed the fate of the family. The treacherous political situation, the turbulent rise and fall of the family and country, and the deep emotions between Lin Yanzhou, the commander of the cold-faced Forbidden Army, have made this road full of thorns. But Meng Zizao gritted his teeth and insisted, just because he no longer lived for himself, but for those fates that could still be changed. Underscore 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 un. Main characters. Meng Zizao, the male protagonist, the Traverser, was originally a medical graduate student, and once became a great Zhou gentleman. Resourceful, clever, and decisive, sharp on the outside and sharp on the inside. Lin Yanzhou, a cold-faced commander of the Imperial Guards, born in a poor family, taciturn but loyal and strong. He was at odds with Meng Zizao at first, Mrs. Meng, the father of the male protagonist, a first-class member, powerful on the surface, but in fact a giant with feet of mud. Meng Qiluo, the male protagonist's sister-in-law, arrogant and domineering, and gradually awakened under the influence of Meng Zizao. Xiao Wengyi, the male protagonist's political enemy, the leader of the princelings, has ruthless methods in a very deep city. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 1, Awakening from a Dream. When Meng Zizao woke up, he had a splitting headache and his limbs felt heavy. Second young master. The second young master is awake. A maid knelt on the edge of the couch, her eyes red. He looked around, and the vermilion carved beams and jade paving the floor did not look like a medical intern's dormitory but more like the scene of the court drama. How could I, he muttered under his breath. There was a sudden pain in my mind, and a large number of memories came flooding back. The original owner Meng Zizao, the second son of the Meng family, the most notorious gentleman of the great Zhou dynasty, drinking and fighting dogs, forcing death to teach Xi, teasing female officials, and urinating in the court. What the hell? He sat up, and was about to catch his breath when there was a sound of hurried footsteps outside. Second brother. You're in trouble again. The door was kicked open, and Meng Qiluo burst in angrily, followed by the embarrassed servant. Do you know that you drunk the son of the Lin family last night, and the story of painting a turtle on his back spread throughout the capital? She was so angry that her hair was messed up, and she pointed at his nose and scolded, Father was reprimanded by the emperor this morning, let our family explain it clearly within 3 days. You can still make trouble a few more times. Meng Zizao's mind flashed the name of the son of the Lin family, Lin Yanzhou. 5 years later, they were the chief judge when they raided their Meng family. He broke out in a cold sweat. Plot begins. Main quest, stop the Meng family from being beheaded after 5 years, and avoid the ending of the original B. Side mission, rebuild personal prestige, change the direction of national politics, and promote the prosperity of the Great Zhou. Meng Zizao raised his head to look at his sister and said word by word. I'll collect this bureau. Chapter 2 The Revenge of the Lin family's son. The main hall of the Meng mansion has an atmosphere like a heavy stone. Lin Yanzhou, the son of the Lin family, was dressed in ink armor, sat on top expressionlessly, and watched Meng Zizao walk in slowly. Mrs. Meng looked embarrassed. Meng Qiluo clasped her arms and sneered, looking like she was waiting for her younger brother to be slapped in the face. Second brother, what you do, admit it yourself. She said coldly. Meng Zizao looked at Lin Yanzhou. This son of the Forbidden Army will be the executioner who will kill the Meng family with the sword of Shang Fang in the future. The person in front of him was handsome and cold, and his eyes were like frost and snow. What happened last night was really offensive. Meng Zizao bowed his head in public. It was I, Meng, who was rude. Today I am willing to apologize by giving you the ancient scroll of Song Yu in my collection. Lin Yanzhou's eyebrows moved. Everyone was shocked. The ancient scroll was something that old Master Meng had treasured for 30 years. Are you sure? Lin Yanzhou stared at him, his voice like cold iron. I'm sure. Meng Zizao responded indifferently. Lin Yanzhou was silent for a moment and stood up, then this is over. After saying that, he turned away. The hall was stunned. Meng Qiluo stood up suddenly, are you crazy? That ancient scroll's father is the most precious. Meng Zizao turned his head, and for the first time his tone was hard. If you keep stopping the bleeding, your whole life will be lost. Sister, don't you understand it now? Our whole family, it's on the cusp. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3, Reversal and Layout. In the dead of night, Meng Zizao lit the lamp alone. The system panel flashes again. Side quest completed. Preliminary improvement of Lin Yanzou's favorability, improved from -50 to -10. Main story update, obtain one of the whitewashing clues. The Meng family's house is involved in the illegal salt trade, and the hidden fuse of the door is extinguished. Limited time mission, prevent the fermentation of the illicit salt case within 1 month, otherwise, the Jiayonggi Inspector Imperial History will impeach the Meng family. Meng Zizao's heart sank like water. Come here, prepare the horses. He got up in his clothes and went to the Jiayonggi treasury at night to investigate. After investigating all the way, he finally found an anomaly in the account book. The record of the flow of private salt actually came from a business house under the name of his eldest brother Meng Xiaoqian. He took a deep breath. If you don't take advantage of the remedial situation now, a month later, a piece of paper can make the Meng family irreversible. Early the next morning, he went straight to his father's study with his account books in his hand. Father. Meng Zizao's tone was calm. I have something to do, I'm afraid I have to report it first. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4, The Rebel Son Pleases Guilt. Old Master Meng frowned and flipped through the account books, and her face changed several times. This is the old trading house under Xiaoqian's name? How can it involve illicit salt? He didn't believe it. I have personally checked it. Although the accounts are clean, the smuggling channels have been caught by someone. Meng Zizao said confidently, if father covered it up, it would be tantamount to tacit approval. Mrs. Meng angrily slapped the bookcase. You mean that the father will cover up private crimes? The child doesn't dare. Meng Zizao knelt down in a deep voice, but if this matter is not cut immediately, it will inevitably implicate the entire family. The child asked for his life, and his brother was responsible, and he was willing to go to the court alone to report the case, and the household department would take the lead in investigating and handling it. Although this move damages the name of the brother, it can protect the whole door. After these words, the study fell into silence. Old Master Meng's expression was complicated, and she spoke for a long time. Xi Zhao, you are indeed different from before. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5, Entering the Court for the First Time. 3 days later, the court will be on top. Your Majesty, I, Meng Zizao, have something to report. The ministers were shocked. This former playboy actually took the initiative to report? Meng Zizao stepped forward and presented the memorial. The business under the name of the eldest son Meng Xiaoqian was involved in the illegal salt business. I have investigated it in detail. For the sake of the family tradition, please investigate it. The emperor looked at it coldly and said in a deep voice, what a Meng family. Do you know what the consequences will be if you say this? I know. Meng Zizao raised his head, his eyes firm, but if I don't tell you, the consequences will be even worse. Your Majesty, please understand. There was silence in the hall. In the end, the emperor flicked his sleeves. The household department investigates this case. If there is a falsehood, the Meng family will ask for the crime together. Meng Zizao stepped down, and Lin Yanzou glanced sideways from the end of the court line with a complicated look in his eyes. This gentleman has become incomprehensible. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 6, The Earthquake of the Government and the Opposition. When the news came out, the capital was shocked. Have you heard? The second son of the Meng family exposed his family ugliness and begged the court to investigate the case. Is this still the prodigal son who teased Princess Zhao Yang? Could it be that he has really changed? Meng Xiaoqian was demoted to a commoner overnight. The old Grand Tutor Meng's mansion was in a state of panic, and all the relatives were talking about it and cursing. This son is crazy. This is forcing the Meng family to break their arms to survive. Meng Zizao stood under the porch, listening coldly, but he did not retreat. At night, Lin Yanzou came in person. You are doing this for both justice and self-preservation. Lin Yanzou said lightly, no matter what your purpose is, the clear stream in Beijing. I already have a good feeling. You're here just to say this? Meng Zizao smiled lightly. Lin Yanzhou was silent for a moment, then took out a black gold scepter from his arms. This is the internal order of the deputy envoy of the Forbidden Army. If you really want to go down this path, prepare an extra ticket. You think I can't go on? Lin Weizhu stared at him and said, No, I just want to see how far you can go. Chapter 7 The First Household Department. Because Meng Zizao exposed the family scandal but protected his family, the emperor praised him as a man of upright character and appointed him as the left vice minister of the Ministry of Revenue, which shocked the court. When the new official took office, the house was full of enemies. The old officials of the household department were squeezed out, and the conservatives in the DPRK in China secretly stumbled, and they did not even give an accurate account book. Look how you fall even harder. Meng Qiluo sneered. But he was unmoved, and cleaned up the tax account books that had not been checked for 3 years overnight, recruited people from poor families such as Su Yusheng and Bai Chuqiu, and joined Lin Yanzhou to implement the new system of salt and iron general inspection to crack down on corruption. A month later, he used the new system to discover a shortage of 30,000 taels of official salt, forcing corrupt officials to commit suicide, and the Ministry of Revenue was completely transformed. He said in a loud voice in the lobby of the household. If I serve the country, why should I be afraid of thousands of people stopping me? Chapter 8 The Sunset Encounter. The Sunset Building next to the household is the place where the talented people in Beijing gather. One day, after the storm had just subsided, Meng Zizao ran into Su Yusheng, who was aloof and dignified, a genius in the literary world, and had been demoted to a common official for his advice. Lord Meng is an anomaly in the officialdom, and he actually invited me to discuss political affairs. Su Yusheng raised his eyebrows. Brother Su is very talented, and if he is unwilling to enter the court, it will be a loss to the country. The two drank and talked about politics, admiring each other. After several intersections of government affairs, Su Yusheng voluntarily joined the Meng mansion as a staff member, and the DPRK praised him as Mensu Shuangbai. Su Yusheng was also gradually moved by Meng Zizao's perseverance, open-mindedness, and sense of responsibility, and the emotions between the two rippled. Chapter 9 The Investigation of Cheng in the History of Yu. Qin Guanheng, the chief censor of the capital, was a harsh person and did not trust young people who achieved success. He teamed up with the old party to create fake accounts and try to bring down Meng Zizao. You just turned over, do you really think you can change the world? Meng Zizao devised a counter-espionage plan, leaving the false accounts to Zongchen's followers, and took advantage of the Ministry of Revenue's joint investigation system to conduct surprise inspections. He revealed in court that Qin Guanheng had made false accounts of 3,000 taels, and his face turned pale. Should Zhongcheng apologize for the false accusation? The emperor was furious, and Qin Guanheng was dismissed from his post and investigated, and the prestige of the Ministry of Revenue reached its peak. This battle established Meng Zizao's unshakable position in the court. Chapter 10 Old grievances rekindle, and enemies appear. Lin Yanzhou suddenly handed over a secret letter. The Northwest Army's grain transfer is unusual. I'm afraid there may be some secret moves by the vassal kings. Sure enough, the third prince, Han Shihong, plotted to rebel, secretly colluded with foreign clans, intended to mutiny and seize power, and planned to act in the name of evidence of the remnants of the Meng family. Han Shihong is the hand behind the old line of destroying the door. If this man is not removed, the world will be in turmoil. Meng Zizao's words were as cold as ice. He secretly teamed up with Lin Yanzhou to pretend to reduce the authority of the household department, so that Han Shihong mistakenly thought that he had lost power, so he took action automatically. A plot, a secret report. Han Shihong was ambushed and captured by Lin Yanzhou when he was plotting something bad on the night of the Spring Festival. The evidence of rebellion was solid, and his family was confiscated and his family was executed, shocking the whole capital. The emperor named Meng Zizao honest and brave marquis, gave him 10,000 taels of gold, and personally wrote pillar of the country on him. Chapter 11 Family Reconciliation and Clarity of Mind. Old Master Meng felt ashamed in his old age and finally admitted that he had not taught his children well in the past. You are the pride of my Meng family's descendants. He held Meng Zizao's hand, and the old man burst into tears. Meng Qiluo, his sister who used to sneer at him, also took the initiative to admit his mistakes, and the two released their previous suspicions. Su Yusheng said to him in the Sunset Tower, Xi Zhao, you are for the country and the people, and I am also for you. The two looked at each other, their eyes full of understanding and resonance. On this night, the wind is light and the moon is white. He gently took her hand and said with a smile, may the world be a witness, and you are the only one I wish for in the future. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 12 Spring and Jingming, a new bureau in the court. The world was settled, the kings were stripped of their power, and the people lived in peace. Meng Zizao was promoted to the position of Zongshuling, and Su Yusheng was appointed as the Minister of Rights. The husband and wife followed suit, and became a good story in the court and the country. He advocated the establishment of righteousness and accepted the children of the poor family, opening salt roads to stabilize the treasury, set up a civil complaint station to reduce corruption and curb malpractice, and the world praised it as the reincarnation of the blue sky. Lin Yanzhou was in charge of the military power and guarded 50 cities in the northwest. Together with Meng Zizao, they became the backbone of the civil and military forces. 3 years later, the emperor was old and appointed Meng Zizao as the junior tutor to assist the crown prince. The old days have become the mainstay of the entire Dayan. Underscore 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 un. Final chapter, accompanied by Mu Yamakawa and Yoshido. 10 years later, the country was in great order and the people were well fed and well clothed. Meng Zizao resigned from his post and retired to Qingzi in the south of the Yangtze River with Su Yusheng. He often took her on a boat, held wine and listened to the rain, and said to her, in this life, I have no regrets about the world and you. Spring goes to autumn, Jiangnan plum blossoms, and grey hair does not grow. Someone asked, why did Meng Gong, who was so handsome and elegant in the past, live in the mountains now? Su Yusheng replied with a smile, because he once promised me a sentence, the country is hired, and the stars and the moon are the alliance. Underscore 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 un. Postscript. The record of Rebirth writes about how a person who is the most unlikely to succeed relies on wisdom and perseverance to swim against the current, change his fate, turn the world around, and finally achieve self-help and save people. Meng Zizao was not born a hero. He was rejected and fell to the bottom, but he chose to rise up. He not only saved himself, but also led the whole country out of the slump. It's a story of growth, responsibility, love, and sacrifice. Each of us may have been the gentleman who was not favored, but as long as we don't give up, we will eventually walk out of our own bright road. Fanwei 1, Su Yusheng. Sunset Tower. Sunset Tower. On the day he first met Meng Zizao, Su Yusheng remembered that it was very windy. With a bit of ridicule and uninhibitedness, he asked her softly, if it is for the common people, would Miss Su be willing to work with me? She laughed at first. People in the capital said that this man was unbearable, a playboy and a prodigal son who would do anything to bully others. But that day, he asked for his life for the people in the court, and the words were sonorous. On that day, he avenged the grievances of the women under the corridor of the household, and his clothes were wet but he did not take a step back. She has seen too many people who are hypocritical, but she has never seen such a man, who has gone through wind and snow and is sincere. He painted his dreams above the world, but he hid his affection in his eyebrows and eyes, leaving her alone. He once said, Yusheng, if you are here, I will not be afraid of all the wind and snow in this world. Later, she was no longer a lone courtier, and he was no longer a discredited prodigal son. They walked hand in hand in the mountains and rivers, and everywhere they passed, they were all 10 miles of spring breeze. Underscore 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 un. Extra 2, Lin Yanzhou. Silent. Iron Bone. Lin Yanzhou joined the army since he was a child, a young general, and an iron-blooded lone wolf. The world only knows that he is cold, silent, and his hands are stained with the blood of the enemy, but they do not know how many silent people he protects behind him. He once opposed Meng Zizao, 1 article and 1 martial arts, and it was intolerable. But when it rained at night, Meng Zizao came to the military camp alone on horseback to ask for food. He saw him kneeling in the rain with a determined look in his eyes, protecting the people as if his life. At that moment, respect was born in his heart. If there is one person in the world who can stand shoulder to shoulder with me, and never betray me, it's you. Later, the two of them went from testing and hindering each other to fighting the enemy side by side and discussing the world together. He guarded the northwest, and Meng Zizao guarded the capital. One was civil and the other was military, and they eventually became the two wings of the emperor. He was unmarried, and fought for the rest of his life. No one asked him, "Aren't you tired?" He just replied lightly, "Tired, but someone is worth it." Underscore 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 un. Extra 3, Meng Qiluo, Regret and Success. Once, she was proud, mean, and regarded her brother as a disgrace. She is the first talented woman in Beijing, famous all over the world, but she always has pride and prejudice in her heart. It wasn't until that year that her younger brother put on armor and went to court, reversed the situation, and freed her family from disaster. She realized that the most important thing in this world should not be underestimated is the heart that never yields. She later chose to leave Beijing, marry a poor scholar, stay away from strife, and start all over again. When she returned to Beijing, she took her young son and stood outside the home mansion, looking up at the door of the house that she had despised. Meng Zizao welcomed her into the house with a smile, just like the weak young man in the past. He didn't blame her or blame her. She wept. She said, "Brother, I was wrong." He said, "Sister, just come back." Underscore 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 un. Special postscript, Night Rain in Jiangnan, Silent Confession. In his later years, Su Yusheng once wrote a sentence in the book, sealed in the depths of the library. In this life, what I respect is not the Chengyang Marquis, but the person who stood side by side with me in the corridor of the household in the wind and rain that year. What I love is not the powerful minister who changed the world, but Meng Zizao who whispered, "I am," that night.